Good ball. Race. It goes towards Owen Roy. Brilliant save indeed. Walsh has scored. Leicester City are in dreamland now. Vardy in the middle. This could be a huge moment. Vardy scores. And it's pandemonium in Leicester.
Mahrez with his left. Albrighton with his right. It is Mahrez. It's a good ball in. Morgan's there. It's in. Leicester City score. It is a captain's goal from Wes Morgan, who lifted the Premier League trophy in May. He might have played a big part now in taking Leicester City through to the quarter-finals of the Champions League.
Lift the trophy to the skies. Leicester City are the champions of the Premier League. 5,000 to 1.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses. For Transfer Talk Live, we're going to chat about a few different transfer rumours that have been doing the rounds on Leicester City social media platforms and news and all of that good stuff. So we're going to talk about it. Before we get into it, Manny, mate, what's going on? How are you doing?
Enjoying the heat, but the hay fever is hurting this year. The hay fever is killing me. My eyes are not enjoying this heat wave, and it's a bit of a struggle to sleep. But you know, if nothing else, let's cheer ourselves up by talking about these wonderful links of players that we've been linked with, huh?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Jack, what's going on with you, mate? How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you both? Again, still enjoying the weather. It's a little bit hot at night times when you want to sleep and that, but yeah, I'm fantastic.
Good stuff. Just a quick one. I think there's a Leeds fan here. Everton at home first, guys. What's your opening fixtures like? Piss off. Right. Okay. So, also, the Sheffield Wednesday transfer ban. Let's just get quick thoughts on that, guys, before we get into it. Manny, they've been given a 3-window transfer ban for failing to pay their players. That it's quite an extreme punishment, don't you think? And maybe it's a sign of things to come with Leicester. Maybe they're going to want to throw the book at us too.
Well, if you're not paying the players, then not only should you get immediate ban from signing from that window, yeah, so that's one ban. Then a second ban because you were warned about what was going to happen. And a third ban as a deterrent for everybody else to say, look, don't get yourself in this kind of mess whereby you can't pay players. So it is a bit nerve-wracking that they're not just giving out sentences, they're giving out sentences to make a statement as well. Yeah,
Jack, transfer ban for Sheffield Wednesday. Like I said, three windows. You would argue that's them probably relegated before the season's even kicked off because their manager is probably going to leave as well.
Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday are in a bit of a pickle, aren't they? Chanzier is an absolute loony. I'm sorry, that guy is. I don't know. Sheffield Wednesday fans are very much frustrated with him, aren't they? With how things are being run and that, and to not pay your players, it's a difficult one. And then you got players leaving as well, and you can't sort of offer new contracts out to extending players. And Sheffield Wednesday's quality of players. They need a lot more quality to stay in the Championship this season. I think this could be a season where they struggle. But the man himself, Danny Rowe, maybe Leicester might have these talks now and bring him to Leicester City on July the 1st. Maybe it gives us a bit more momentum because Middlesbrough didn't want him. Neither did Wolfsburg. So maybe Leicester City have got a bit of a trick up their sleeve. Let's wait to find out.
Allegedly, these clubs didn't want him. I mean, you'd think Middlesbrough would have taken him. Like they've gone for who is it they've appointed again?
Edwards.
Rob Edwards. Rob Edwards, who was obviously sacked by Luton last season. A little bit of a troll here from David down below. You can see Everton at home, first game, guys. What's your opening fixtures like? He's a Leeds fan, of course. And then he said, sorry, forgot. Have a good season anyway. Cheers, David. Much appreciated. David, if you want to stick around, mate, we're going to talk about one of your current players on your books soon. So please stick around and give us some insight if you want to. Right, let's get into it. Before we get into the rumoured incoming, let's talk about a couple of outgoings that have been linked or rumoured. And we're going to start with this man, Coady, Manny. Now, you will be happy to see the back of this guy. I think a lot of us will be. Majority of us will be happy to see the back of him. Just quickly, obviously on screen you can see he played 26 times for Leicester this season. He's got a current market value of around 3 million. We paid, I think it was 7 or 8 for him, maybe even 9. I can't remember what the exact figure was. Rangers seem to be quite heavily linked with him, Manny, and so do Wolves, but that's not a surprise because he absolutely loves Wolves. What are your thoughts, Manny, on this rumour seeing Conor Coady leave the club?
My first thoughts are please, 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 please be true. And that sums it all up. It's a player that's never worked out for us. Didn't really play under Enzo. Didn't really work out last season. Talks an excellent game, media friendly. Will probably make a good pundit one day on radio. That is because he's not good enough as a player to make it on TV. But look, from his point of view, it's a great move. I mean, Rangers, great club, back end of your club, have a chance of actually winning something big, a fervent support behind you, passionate, a great derby. You'll probably look pretty good in that league too, compared to most players. So it makes sense from his point of view. And from our point of view, if we can, it's reduced wages in the Championship. So I think was he on 100 in the Premier League? Was it raised from 70 to 100 when we got promoted? Is that correct?
Yes, that's the rumour. Yeah, that when we were promoted, he had an increase to £100,000 a week. Yeah.
So I think the reduction is 30% when we go down, or is it 40%? I can't remember which. I think it might be 30.
Again, we don't know the ins and outs, but I think when we were relegated last time, a lot of players got a 30% cut last time.
So let's assume that we're going to pay him somewhere in the region of 60 to 70 in the Championship. We are not going to get value for money at that kind of level when we've got Ben Nelson ready to go, who is a better player than Conor Coady today, much hungrier player, local player. That's the kind of player that we need to hang our hat on. And we've also got Vestergaard and Farr still to get out the door. So if somebody wants Conor Coady, take the money. Don't be too stringent about the details of the transfer. You're saving yourself a lot of money each week that he stays. So, let's just get him out the door. Agree a fee, make it reasonable, wish him the best, and say adios, Conor.
I mean, Jack, Ryan's put here in a comment, please Rangers take him so it allows money to be taken off the wage budget. It will suit Coady to finish off his career. But, again, talking about the wages, Jack, that will be a big bonus for Leicester to save that money in wages. But also, even if we can get £4 million for Conor Coady, even though it's a loss on what we paid for him, that will help us out a lot this summer with the PSR concerns and all of that.
Yeah, we're going to have to raise money, aren't we, to comply with the PSR, like we did with Dewsbury Hall last summer when we sold him to Chelsea. Conor Coady, he's been on radio, Talk Sport, podcast. He's been doing that more times. He's been on a football pitch for Leicester City, for God's sake. He talks a good game. He does. But when you come and watch him play football, he ain't as quick as Vestergaard either. They're probably about the same. Do you get what I mean? And Conor Coady, he's got Premier League experience, but he hasn't really shown it at Leicester, has he? Let's be fair. The thing is with Coady, like Manny says, you need to take the money to get a more fee for him, which both clubs are going to be happy with. Rangers are obviously they're not going to pay him 60 grand a week. I highly doubt that. I mean, can they afford that? Probably not. And then, are they in European football as well next season, Rangers?
They've got Europa League, I think, yeah.
That's what I mean. So that's going to give him an incentive as well to go there even more. So if we can get around about £3 million for him, snap your hand off, get him off the wage bill. That's where we've got to sort of look at this summer with the wage bill, because in the Championship, you're only allowed a certain amount of wages to go out, aren't you, at a football club in the EFL? So Leicester have got to be very sort of smart this season with how the wages are. And if we can get rid of these big eye earners, it gives us the chance to change the wage strategy for once.
Well, go on.
I was going to say that there might take a bit of movement on his side, right? So he's clearly on an exceptional contract at Leicester that you're not going to get anywhere else. And the club is not really shown in the past a willingness to subsidise wages. So from his point of view, option A is stay at Leicester, do another season in the Championship where it's turning toxic with the fans, there's a negative feeling, or you can join something positive in Rangers with new manager, new chance, new league, blah, blah, blah. but you might have to, and I think Rangers' upper ceiling is around the 40 a week mark. So you might have to accept a bit of a wage cut yourself. And look, I don't expect him to take a wage cut. I don't think really people would often do that. But occasionally somebody will say, I would rather go there. I'm still getting 40 a week and I can play every week and be loved by the fans than stay here, collect the money and be hated for it. So I hope that he's not too sort of greedy about, every last penny of his contract and has a bit of flexibility himself and is willing to work with us. So maybe we can facilitate that move in an easier way.
Yeah, Frankie mentions here as well, Rangers have been taken over by the 49ers, like Leeds as well. Just a quick response to Mr. Fatawi. No, we don't know the compensation that we've received for Brian Barry Murphy, as an assistant manager or first team coach, whatever he was. You can't imagine that compensation being high. But every penny counts. Every penny helps now at the moment with the PSR. If we can bring, 500 grand in or 200 grand in here or there, it does help the club trying to meet PSR. That is for sure. But yeah, I mean, look, we talk a lot, Manny. Let me just to finish the conversation on Conor Coady, mate. I mean, I listen to the Big Strong Leicester Boys podcast, as you know. I know you do as well, Jack. And Ric Flair on there. Ric Flair, he's hilarious. He fucking hates Coady. He hates him, right? And he always says, this Conor Coady's a leader thing is a myth. It's a myth. And when you hear him speak, you come away at the end. He spoke that quickly and just said a load of nonsense that you come away thinking, oh yeah, I think he did something there, but really he didn't. He just waffled, and I think that's why he gets his. I remember when we signed him, Manny, Just Joe Football Show. He was joking to me saying, "Oh well, oh wow, you've got Coady the leader. Yeah, what's he gonna do? Card tricks on the team bus or something?" And I mean, he's probably right. Like that, and on the pitch, he's barely contributed as well. He's played more games this season, but. I mean, my only memory of him, my biggest memory of Conor Coady this season, Manny, is when he gave away that penalty away at Crystal Palace.
Palace, yeah. Look, in the end, in order to be a good leader, you have to be one of the very best players in the team. You don't get a great leader unless there's a great player too. You're not going to get. I think there's only for your old people might remember Mike Brearley, the England cricket captain, who was picked basically for his leadership skills alone, not because he was a good player, because he was brilliant at getting the best out of everybody else around him. Conor Coady's not brilliant at getting the best of people around him, and he's certainly not one of the best players in the team. He's one of the worst players in the squad. So how could you look at Conor Coady and really look at him credibly and say, you're saying the right thing, mate, but you're part of the problem here. Like, part of the reason we're in this mess is because you're too slow at tracking back, or the guy got the wrong side of you, or your passing's off, or you misplaced that header, or whatever it was, or you were too lazy getting up offside. You have to be one of the best players. Leicester had, I don't want to talk about different sport too much, but Leicester Tigers had Martin Johnson, one of the greatest leaders in sports history, I would say. And he barely said a word. But all you had to do was just watch him play. And he led by the way that he played. I'll take ownership of the game. I'll run this game. I'll show you what to do. I'll lead from the front. When does Conor Coady lead from the front or make you think, do you know what, he's having a stormer today? He's bossing that centre-back area. He's controlling it. He's dictating play from there. He's putting people in place. Do you see him vocally on the pitch, shouting and screaming at players? Because if he shouted and screaming at one of his players because they did something wrong, they're going to turn around and say, look in the mirror, mate. How much do you do wrong? You just can't take him seriously as a leader. So it looks good on paper because the guy can construct a sentence. And as you mentioned, Ric Flair says, construct several sentences very, very quickly without saying too much. It's a little bit corporate waffle. It just flies over my head. You're not actually... You're saying... You're box ticking. You're saying the right thing. You've had media training. You're saying the right thing that you think people want to hear. But we're beyond that phase where people accept that as a credible answer. People want to hear honesty and brutality in what way that they speak. That's why they like Ange Postecoglou, because at least you believe that what he's saying, that he believes it or he's coming from the heart. Conor Coady is just speaking for the sake of speaking.
Yeah, Blue Armour says, it sounds sick, but I'm more excited for this season than I was this time last year, going into that bore fest of a corrupt league. I would be more excited this time round if it wasn't so uncertain right now. You know, if we had a manager in the door and we were starting to make movements in the transfer market, then I would be a lot more excited. But at the minute, it's pretty difficult to get excited. Right, we're going to move on to the next player, and that is this man, Mr. Lukey Boy Thomas. I'm going to come to you first, Jack, on this one, mate. What are your thoughts on this guy? So he's today, fresh rumour off the block, and he is linked, according to, I don't know who they are, the Infanteria Betis. Real Betis are interested in Luke Thomas. Now, there were clubs linked with him or interested in him apparently in January, and we kind of just didn't want him to go apparently for 5 million quid. He's linked away again, Jack. What do you make to this rumour, mate? What would you like to see happen with Thomas? Because I think your answer might be slightly different to mine and Manny's, to be honest.
Well, I've sort of thought about it since you put it on me over a WhatsApp message. I've been thinking about it. Thomas last year was probably the best player of a bad bunch in defence, by the way. He gave 100% in games, and he's a championship defender at best, if I'm honest. And it didn't work out for him on loan at Sheffield United, neither Middlesbrough. They didn't think he was good enough, did they? Leicester, I do think he got through in at the deep end quite early with Brendan Rodgers when Ricardo got injured, James Justin and all that. He needed to go out on loan. He didn't. He didn't get that experience what other people had got, like Barnes and Dewsbury Hall and that. So that was sort of a negative towards him. I mean, if they pay the right fee, Leicester are going to want to get rid of a number of players this summer transfer window, aren't they? The Codys, the Fasses, the Christiansens, and get that taxi booked. So I kind of think with Thomas, he could do a job in the Championship, but then have we got better we can bring in to replace him? Which, if we can find the right money to bring in another left back or put James Justin there next season, then yeah, I think Betis would be an admirable move for him. I mean, I think are they in Europe as well? Are they Betis? Have they got Anthony and Junior Firpo now? Have they? So.
Yeah, I'm just double checking La Liga.
Isn't that Ayuso Perez?
They finished 6th, so I think that's Conference League or Europa League, one of the two.
That's what I'm saying. So they've got Europe as well. So that's going to be another push towards him leaving Leicester City. If they make a bid, he'll want to go and play in Europe, which is a good move for him. I think for many people with Leicester City players, with the mess the club's in, there's no project, there's no plan. They'll want to go to a club where they feel wanted and they can go and progress somewhere else. And I think this is what most of the players are thinking is going to be this summer. We don't know what's happening at Leicester City. We might as well get out now while we've got the chance. And I think Thomas might just be one of them.
Let me say where my head's at, Manny, right?
Yeah.
This is where my head's at. So I think we share a similar opinion on this. But Luke Thomas is shit. He's shit. He's shit. And he's not good enough to play in the Premier League. And I think, as a comment here from Buzz says, just because Thomas was one of the best of the bunch of shit, that doesn't mean he's not shit. And I completely agree with that. I think Victor Christiansen, if we're praising somebody for being better than Victor Christiansen, like that shows where we are at the club right now. I think, and he is shit. He is shit. And he went to Sheffield United, and he got sent back after 6 months because he was terrible. He was terrible. Middlesbrough, he did okay. He did okay at Middlesbrough. He didn't set the team alight. But what I will say about Thomas, as a few of the comments have said as well, is of course he does have, sorry to use this cliche, he has the passion, he has the effort, he has all of that. And yeah, exactly, Manny. Yeah, I'll bring it up again. But yeah, that's what the comment says. It says just because he was one of the best of a bad bunch doesn't mean he's not bad. And I'll bring up a few of the comments here before I hand to Manny. So there's a chance here saying from Frankie, I'd rather give Badi Aluko a chance than Luke Thomas, one of the youngsters coming through from Seagrave. Scotty says VK is one of the worst players we've ever had. And finally from Ragsy, he says Thomas is stopping another prospective fullback coming through. I'd rather a Aluko or cover get him gone. Manny, what is your take on this one, mate? Because I just don't think he's good enough. But I want to caveat, it's the same for Victor as well. They're both not good enough.
Yep, sell them both. I can find you 2 left backs cheaper than the price we would sell either for, who are both better players. I've already got my eye on one for the next scouting show we're going to do. A really tasty left back, rated about £4 million. He's 24 years old, I think he is, or 23. Looks really good to me, and totally dynamic in a way that Luke Thomas just cannot be, because Luke Thomas cannot play that style of attacking fullback. I think we've forgotten that at our peak we used to have really good fullbacks. Chilwell and Ricardo were absolutely superb in their day. They really were, going forward, tracking back to dynamic fullbacks. Luke Thomas is not dynamic. He's positionally lazy, makes clumsy challenges. His passing's 50-50. His set-piece delivery's pretty good, actually. But that's the only... And I suppose he can deliver a cross occasionally, but he's lightweight. He's too thin. He's not strong enough. He's not quick enough. He's not been good enough. He's had 2 loan attempts in the Championship, and neither club wanted him. If somebody wants him, this is a player you're going to end up losing for free if you don't cash in soon. So today you could get maybe £5 million for him. He's a local player, so it looks great on your PSLs, pure profit, which therefore we can use to invest with replacements who are better. Also, we just need recycling of players. Luke Thomas has been around for many, many years. If you haven't been able to establish your first team as a first-team player, despite being here for 4 or 5 seasons already, you're never going to. Let him have a career somewhere else. Let's take the money. Let's invest elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, he's again, his rumoured transfer value is around 5 million. Personally, again, like, Jack, if somebody came in, and it was the same in January, we said the same thing in January, because I think that was the fee that was spoken about in January. Which team was it? Do you remember?
Hoffenheim.
What team? Hoffenheim. It was a German, yeah. So I said the same in January. If somebody comes in and says, here's £5 million for Luke Thomas,
Snap your hand off.
I am taking it 150%.
Definitely. Definitely.
Jack, talk to me, mate. I mean, 5 million, would you be happy with that for Thomas?
Yeah, I would. I'd sell him for that. If someone offered me £5 million for him, I'd snap your hand off and run.
It's the point that we want to make. It's, you know, you can't look as a player just in isolation and say he's quite good, let's keep him. It depends on so many other factors. What are his wages? How much is he worth in the open market? What else could you do with that money in the open market? You know, and so it's option A: keep Luke Thomas and end up probably either giving him a new contract because you want to protect some kind of asset value, although he's not really ever been worth a fortune, and then having to give him probably a wage increase and keep him on the bench for the next 3-4 years. Or take the money now and use that money to find a player who can actually affect your first team and help you move forward, not just in the Championship, but in the Premier League. And again, I just think with £5 million, believe it or not, you can actually do quite a lot. And we bought Mads Hermansen for £5 million. You know, what an unbelievable goalkeeper. We bought Steffi Mavididi was £6 million for a left winger. That's not expensive for the kind of player that you're getting. So don't look at Luke Thomas as just individually. If I did, he still wouldn't be good enough. But the fact that he is local and has some value today means, and clubs want him. It's not like as if we're going to be able to get rid of all the players that we would like to get rid of. So whoever you can get rid of at a reasonable fee, you take the fee and you move on.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, Boz says, in a modern era where players are usually in their prime from 20 to 26, we can't afford to keep a mediocre Luke Thomas in our squad, as he's clearly not improving or reaching any type of peak. I mean, for me, just to add to that, Jack, like, this is what I think of Thomas. You know, when he broke through into the team under Rodgers in that COVID season, like, a lot of, you know, we got behind him. We thought he was going to be brilliant, and he started off quite well, but I think he just tailed off, and his progression, his development didn't really reach the levels that we wanted him to. And now I can't see him improving from here. I think what we have now, the Luke Thomas we have now, is probably the Luke Thomas that we will have for the next, you know, however many years. I just think it's time to cash in, personally, Jack. And as I just said, £5 million for a player that isn't Premier League quality and has been proven not to be Premier League quality, because, as I said, relegated twice with Leicester, relegated, well, with Sheffield United. He came back after 6 months. They didn't want to keep him. The evidence said that's 3 seasons where he's not good enough for the Premier League. So we have to cash in.
Yeah, as a homegrown player, which would help towards PSR as well. So £5 million or 4 million or whatever it is to want to pay for him, it helps towards the PSR thing, because he's a homegrown player. We don't have to sort of question that. And, you know, if Hoffenheim were £5 million in January, I'd have sold him then, because when Luke Thomas come in, I was always one that would give him a chance and see how he progresses. But I don't think he did. I didn't rate him, to be honest, as a fullback. I think he got beaten too easily, too weak, and I just didn't think he was good enough for me. I wanted better. I thought Justin and Ricardo was the perfect partnerships either side of the fullback range, left back and right back. And Thomas never really showed me as much. I know this season just gone. The thing is, he's not Premier League level, and you always need somebody to sort of say, okay, then give a bit better than others. And Thomas has done, but I think if these Real Betis ones do want to make a formidable move for him, I'd sell him. I would. It's like Vestergaard, get rid, fast, get rid. Christensen, see you later. Patson Daka, bye-bye. Samore, bye. Ndidi, take the 9 million and run. Because that's where I see Leicester City have got to do. They've got to get a lot of players off this wage bill and get players in who can play in the system with whoever the manager's going to be. And I just don't think Luke Thomas would be ideal. I'd rather Justin at left back than Luke Thomas.
So this is what I was going to say, Manny. I personally, I know Justin had a lot of stick this season, right? Especially for the first half of the season. I personally think James Justin is a better left back than Luke Thomas. Now, again, we're not setting the bar very high here, but I think Justin is. But another name that people keep mentioning, Manny, is Woyo Koulibaly.
Another left back better than Luke Thomas.
And he's fast twitch.
We could, I like him. Malian, I like him. Look, you could sell Luke Thomas for 5. You could sell Victor for 10 to 12, something like that, I would guess.
Yeah.
And you would still have JJ who could play there. You'd still have Woyo who could play there, and you still have younger Luco who needs game time in the Championship to develop as well. So why do we need Luke Thomas for? We've already got 3 options at left back who can play there today, and that's without. So we could sell those 2, him and Victor, still have 3 options, and still have transfer fee generated by those 2 sales. Should we feel like we actually need a left-footed, we probably might need a left-footed left back, at least one, because the 2 of the players I've mentioned list, I'm not sure about Luca so much, but JJ and obviously Woyo are right-footed, and that's not ideal, but we can find that one player. So sell 2 of them. Buy one, pocket the rest, put that down against your wage reduction and your PSR reduction to make you fall in line. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing people online saying they would rather sell Justin than Thomas, and I just find it crazy. I find it crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah,
JJ's a good player. Luke Thomas is rubbish. Sorry, he's rubbish. People can say what they like, but my eyes, I've watched the guy for many, many years. The odd good moment or the odd good game, people mention, like, he did play well against Mo Salah twice, but how many inferior wingers did he have a nightmare against? You know, just if people forget so quickly, just watch some of the games this season where he was just clueless in defence. What was the one where the guy hit the bar from like 40 yards? What was that goal? Do you remember
when we did a little funny montage of it. Yeah, I remember.
Somebody took a shot from the halfway line. Was it Newcastle? Watch that goal where the guy hit the bar from the halfway line and watch Luke Thomas's defending.
Yeah, stood and watched.
He was playing left-sided centre-back, which he's not anyway. So it was horrible. It was absolutely horrific, some of the stuff. That's just one example, and I'll give you lots more. So just because, like Buzz said earlier, he was okay in several defeats as a team, you know, everybody was appalling. Nobody showed a standard that was particularly consistently good enough. It's certainly not him, and it's not his first chance. He's had a chance under five managers, and not one of those five managers for us, plus 2 others in the Championship. That's 7 managers that at the end of the day, not one of them has fancied him. So you guys can see, I don't know what you're saying, but I agree with those managers. This kid's not good enough. Yeah. I'm amazed he's worth 5 million, to be honest. Sell him for 5 million, please. We can find better than that for £5 million, I can assure you. And for less salary.
Everyone always says, but he pocketed Salah as well. There's a few comments talking about it, but everyone says he's...
That's his highlight of his Leicester career, pocketing Salah twice.
Well, as I was going to say, then talk about the players that he couldn't pocket and he couldn't get near.
Played a part in that as well.
I mean, Elanga, was it Elanga he played earlier in the season? Elanga ripped him apart in that game.
Gave away the free kick, couldn't get near him. And that's the thing, he couldn't get near him, so he dives. He has a habit of when he knows, right? He knows when he's in trouble, when the winger's going to have him. So he ends up making clumsy, foolish challenges where he overcommits straight away. So, it makes it look like a mistimed challenge. It's clumsy defending because the guy is not confident one-on-one against the winger.
No.
Right, I want to move on now to a rumoured incoming, and that is Sam Greenwood. This for me just shows on the face of it how far we've fallen as a football club that we are linked with a player like Sam Greenwood. Now, to be fair, the same people that say, "Oh, Thomas pocketed Salah," will probably say Sam Greenwood scored a great free kick against us. But I mean, I'm going to come to you first, chap, because I know that you've had some conversations this week with Leeds fans, mate, and they've given you a little bit of insight into Sam Greenwood. And if there are any Leeds fans in the chat, then please feel free to do the same. However, Jack, this one is totally uninspiring. 44 games last season, 7 goals, 3 assists. He can play as a striker. He can play as a 10. I think he's played, a little bit out wide. But yeah, talk to us what you know about Sam Greenwood from your chats.
Talking to Leeds, Preston fans, Middlesbrough fans this week, I asked them about Sam Greenwood, and Middlesbrough fans said the best thing he did was score that free kick against Leicester. Leeds fans, they said you can happily have him. He's not Premier League level. He's probably bottom Championship level is what he is. He's a versatile forward, can play on the wing, can play as a striker, can play centre attacking mid. But then I look what Leicester's got. You've got Bilal El Khanous if you can keep him. You've got Mavadida. You've got Fatawi. You've got Mongi. You've got McAteer. They're all better players than Sam Greenwood, in my opinion. Sam Greenwood, I don't think he'd fit it for us. I think he'd be a bench player rather than a starter, in my opinion. I think Preston, he didn't exactly rip up trees there, did he? I mean, 10 goal involvements. He goes missing more than in playing well in games. And this is what Leeds fans issue. Well, they brought him as a striker, but then they started playing him as a more indirect sort of a centre attacking mid role because they couldn't fit him as a striker anywhere. They had Bamford at the time and stuff like that. So Leeds fans, they're not inspired by him. They'd happily get money for him. They say if you can get £3 to £4 million for him, they'd snap your hand off because Preston and Middlesbrough got offered £1.5 million, by the way, to sign him. And they both refused. So I think that tells you as much as you need to know about Sam Greenwood. And I think it'd be a bad move for him, Leicester. I really do. It just shows how far we've fallen as a football club if you're just attracting players like that and you're not bringing in quality when you can get better.
So here is a comment from David, the Leeds fan, who says, we'll take the money, but you'll be looking at mid-table mediocrity if that's the standard of play you have. Now, I don't know the full ins and out on the deal that the Preston had in place with them. It was a loan with option to buy, I believe. I don't know how much they had to pay, but they've turned down the chance to sign him. 1.5 million. So Preston have turned down the chance to sign him for 1.5 million. So does that tell you all you need to know, Manny, that Preston North End don't want him?
I would rename Sam Greenwood Sam No-Wood because when it comes time to perform, he's nowhere to be seen. Right? This guy is... We're talking about mid-table mediocrity, but we didn't confirm which league because to me, I'm not sure if he's a League One player. I think, to be safe, I'd probably categorise him as a solid League Two player, and I'm not.
Shut up!
I'm serious. But when's the guy ever scored 10 goals in a mediocre league?
Mm-hmm. You're going too far with that.
What's his record goal? What's his record goals in any one season?
Do you know? Have you done the research?
I without having done the research, I bet he's never scored more than 6 ever in his career in any league. And you could argue that he's not getting games, and you'd be right, he doesn't play. But if you can't get into a Leeds team that was below us in the Championship, a couple of seasons ago, was struggling below us, that was bottling that league, you still couldn't get game time. How are you suddenly good enough for us today? I mean, that's just total insanity way to think.
Just to let you know, Manny, he scored 12 goals in the Premier League Youth League in 2021.
Oh! And since then, what's his peak?
From the looks of it, his peak was this season where he scored 7 goals. Yeah.
7. Ooh, 7 in the Championship.
In all comps, in all comps. 7.
Oh, in
5
all
the
comps.
Championship,
So a
5
couple in the Zenith Data Systems Cup and there's
No,
before
League
your
Cup,
time.
League Cup.
Oh, right, League Cup. Sorry. You know, I mean, come on, let's get serious. We're trying to move the club forward, not
What about
even
as a
further
squad player then,
backwards.
Manny? Squad player.
For what purpose? A squad player means that if sometimes when you need him, you need to get him on the pitch. When this guy's on the pitch, you're not going to get results. You're going to get draws and defeats because he's going to fluff chances. He's going to miss chances. He's not going to be able to link up play. He's not going to be dynamic enough. He's nowhere near the level we should be looking at. I don't know where this name's come from. I think his agent's just being a bit cheeky. Like, let's just chuck Leicester's name in the mix and we might be able to get someone else interested. Because if we're seriously linked with players like this, then the club are in deeper problems than even I think they are. Because
I'll give you a positive.
Madness.
I'll give you a positive, Manny. Leeds fans did tell me that he's very good at free kicks and he's a good passer of the ball. That's all the only information he gave me. And I'm thinking you don't want to bring that guy on just to take a free kick.
Let's get Andrea Pirlo out of retirement then.
Exactly.
He can still take a free kick. You know, he'll probably do a job for 10 grand a week. You know, roll him out there to take a free kick, no problem. What about this footballer play for about the 90 minutes? We're assuming that we get a single free... Because, by the way, how many free kicks has he scored? 1 against us. Is he some kind of free kick specialist that's got, like, Ward-Prowse or Beckham that's got 10? I don't think so.
Well, there's a good comment here from Frankie who said, no point, we may as well give youth players a chance. I mean, Jack, do you agree with that? Because...
I agree.
We've got Monga, Evans, Fatawu, as it stands, Monga, Evans, Fatawu, Mavididi, as it stands, still Bilal, Will Alves. We have a lot of players who can play in that area. Obviously, striker we are lacking, but Greenwood isn't an out-and-out striker anyway, Jack. So we do have youth players that we could probably utilise ahead of somebody like Sam Greenwood.
Could you sit and tell me now he's better than Patson Daka?
I think that's a tough thing to say. No, he is.
He's worse than Daka. He's worse than Daka.
Daka's a better striker. Daka's a better striker, yeah.
Daka's better than Greenwood.
No, I honestly think next season you've got a lot of young lads coming through. Monga, Jake Evans, Will Alves, Ben Nelson, Aluko. You'll have Michael Golding in there as well, even though he's not homegrown from the Leicester Academy. But you've got boys who are going to thrive. They're going to be hungry next season. They're going to want to make a name for themselves in the Championship and prove that they are up to the level and prove that they want to actually wear the shirt with pride. You've got a lot. These lads are ones for the future. And Jeremy Monger's highly spoke about. I think he's going to tear the Championship up next season, in my opinion. I've seen enough from him in the under-23s and when he's even played this season to know that this guy's special. And I think giving them lads a chance next year, they'll get better the more games they get, the more consistency. And I definitely think I'd rather go with them lads than having seen Sam Greenwood in the team.
Ryan says Greenwood, flash over function, hype over habit.
Not only does he not get in the team, he doesn't get on the bench. He's going to be one of those players that's going to be sitting at home. He won't even make the first team squad on a weekend because he's not even the quality to be a bench player. We would never want him to come on for 15 minutes at the end. There's never a scenario where, do you know what, we need a goal, let's bring Sam Greenwood on. Said nobody ever. It's just absolutely... I don't know where this link comes from. But you forget, he's just a bad footballer. It's nowhere near the level for us. I mean, why is this even a link? It's so frustrating when, people like us spend time and effort trying to scour the world of football to try and find some decent, talented players. And then you get these lazy links of terrible players. Stop buying other people's, particularly rivals' rejects, okay? Did we not learn with Jordan Ayew? Did we not learn with Odsonne Edouard? Are we not learning again? Do we not learn with Connor Coady? Did we not learn with these situations? These players are available because they're crap. If he was any good, Leeds would not have let him go on a subsidised wage. They'd have tied him up to a 5-6 year deal if he had any real ability. And they've had him close up for multiple years. So why are we taking Leeds rejects? Have we really fallen that far?
Yeah, I mean, Frankie said if Greenwood offered something different to what we have, then sure. But he doesn't. He's worse than what we've got in every aspect. Would you agree with that, Jack?
Yeah, I think we've got far better players. Like I said, I've mentioned about 5 of them. Mavadida, Fatawa, El Kanous. I think Jeremy Monger's even better than him. You know, we've got players who are ready for the Championship who will thrive next season. And Sam Greenwood don't even get close to them players. If you keep Bilal El Kanous, he's not going to beat Bilal El Kanous to a first name on the team sheet, is he? Let's be fair. I think Bilal El Kanous is a far better quality player.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Right, the last player I wanted to speak about with you guys, because I spoke to Duck about it the other day, and I want to speak to you guys now, is Mr. Steffi Mavididi. Manny, I've said it a few times, but this wasn't one I was really worried about when we were relegated. I just didn't think about him, to be honest, as somebody who would leave. But I suppose it makes sense. He scores a lot of goals in the Championship. He has a lot of goal contributions in the Championship. You know, one of the better players last season. So, of course, there are going to be some clubs that are keen on him. What do you make to the rumours, mate? Atalanta, Bologna, Villarreal, all sniffing around in some way, shape or form.
I think they think they can see a talented player that might be available on a reduced fee because Leicester are in PSR difficulties. I would advocate selling all those players that don't make my first team and never will. So, we've already spoken about Coady, Vestergaard, Fars, Skip, Winks, Luke Thomas, Casey McAteer. I would sell all of these guys. Steffi Mavididi is not one that I would sell. We do need players who need to have output, like who's actually scoring the goals to take us up this season. Bilal doesn't score a lot of goals so far, brilliant player that he is, but goals haven't yet been his forte. We don't know if Fatawu is going to be the same Fatawu that we fell in love with. We hope so, we pray so, but even in that Championship season where Fatawu was brilliant, Mavididi scored more than double the goals that Fatawu did. We don't have lots of also backup options at left wing that are going to have output. Our backup options are Cordova Reed and Ayew. And Ayew's not really a left winger anyway. He'd be playing out of position. Cordova Reed's not going to chip in with 15 goals like Mavididi did. I think he gets too much criticism from our fans. I think there's a highly talented player. Yeah, of course, he's not consistent. But if he was consistent, he'd be at a way better club than Leicester. I think it's down to good management, and certainly Enzo, who picked him consistently, got pretty good at output for him for his first season back in England. So a player I would definitely keep. I like fast switch fibre players. He's one of them. And I see Mavididi on the left, Monger in the 10 slot, and Fatawu on the right, together with a new striker, absolutely ripping that league apart.
Well, talk to me about the fee, Manny, before I go to chat. Talk to me about the fee, because that's just a transfer market fee. We know that's unreliable, 10 million. But if an offer, let's say, and it won't, because the clubs we're talking about here are Spanish and Italian, so we know they won't stick a big fee up front. But let's just say a team came in and said 15 million. Would you accept that? Would you be happy with that money? 15 million for Mavididi?
No, because I think you need, like I said, people with end product who are going to help make sure that you actually come up. And if you come up, you make 120 million. So you might look at 15 million as, we'll bank that. But, I've been looking around for lots of left wingers. It's not easy to find a similar standard left winger for... I can find you a fullback or a defender quite easily, but the wingers are generally more expensive. The attacking players are always more expensive for quality. So he's already part of the squad. I don't really see that he's caused any massive issues with his teammates or anything like that. At the back end of the season, I thought Steffi played really well, actually, when he came in. Looked really dangerous. Weirdly, looks good against the bigger teams. So I remember him playing well against Liverpool, United and stuff, which maybe just shows there is a psychological issue with him, that when he fancies it, he can turn it on. But the difference is, he can turn it on. And other players, we don't have too many players who can score 15 goals from midfield or winging positions in the Championship. So we do need to retain some levels of quality to keep us in the hunt for coming up at least. So he's one I would keep.
Jack, over to you, mate, about Steffi Mavididi. I know you've been speaking about it on your channel as well. Again, I do believe, personally, and I know Manny will disagree, I do think that he is probably somebody who is far too good for the Championship. I'm unsold on him in the Premier League. I'm sorry, Manny, and Ragsy, who thinks...
Just before you hate that, right, but what I will say is, how many goals did he score in the Premier League this year?
All comp 6. I'm not sure on the Premier League goals. They're all comp 6.
And roughly, what percentage of game time did he play this season?
I'll be able to tell you now. Give me 1 sec.
For ball, I think to make it easy, he roughly played 50% of the games, and he scored 6.
In the Premier League, he played 30 games and scored 4 goals.
How many of those are starts?
I'll bring that up.
Ooh, look at that data straight there. 20, 23, 24?
Yeah, something like that. I can't find it, but yeah.
So if you played a full season of Premier League, you are looking towards, in all competitions, double digits in goal return and above. Who else is getting near near those kind of numbers? You know, he was our top scoring midfielder last season. Let's not forget, a guy who missed at least 8-9 games in a row under Rude was our top scoring. I know people want to hate, but he was our top scoring midfielder, equal with Ayew, I think. But this is with limited game time. My point is still the same. He actually does deliver output.
I think it was 16 starts. I think it was 16 Premier League starts.
16 Premier League starts and how many goals?
He scored 6 goals. 4 goals.
4.
Yeah.
So with a full Premier League season, he's going to get 8 to 10 in a struggling team. Now you put him with good players around you, where you get more chances. There's a player who could reach 15 goals. You know, with a really confident team with creating lots of chances. So that's like half. You know, you're going to like this, but Ragsy's going to be smiling. But that's not far off Harvey Barnes' goals to minutes in the Premier League. Not far off. The difference would be most of the time Harvey Barnes was playing a better team. Now I'm not like Ragsy. Harvey Barnes is clearly a better player than Mavididi. No question about that. But Mavididi's not that far behind. You know, in terms of output at least. Of course he's up and down, and that's always his problem. But this is what you get with creative players. No one ever plays well 38 games in a row if you're creative.
Jack, Mavididi was, like we said, probably behind Dewsbury Hall, the most important player for us last season. Would you be sad to see him go?
Do you know what? He's one that I'd keep. To be honest, I think he can do a job in the Championship. He's proven him and Fatawa and Vardy were tearing it up last time we were in it. So he's proven he can be good in the team. A good Mavididi on his day can be unplayable. I think the Premier League, he kind of struggled to adapt for me. I think he deserved more starts, but you know, it's not always about consistency, but he has got quality. He has. The only thing that I get frustrated is with Mavi is that he'll go down the wing and he'll do step over sometimes, and he'll go backwards. And you want him to take his man on more times than not. And that's what frustrates me with Mavididi. And other Leicester fans have said the same. But I think we should keep him. I think he'll do a job next season. But you look at the teams, Bologna, Atalanta, Villarreal. Their sides were not going to pay the big amounts what Leicester want for him, are they? They're just going to try and lowball every time. You look at Christensen, they were going to pay, what, £12 million, £13 million for Christensen, and then they lowballed Leicester and said, we'll give you 5. So we can't mess about this season regarding the transfer business. We've got to be sharp on it. We've got to play it smart. And we're not going to sell everybody, but we've got to sell a few players. And I would personally keep Mavididi because I think him and Fatawu will be good wingers next season.
Let me ask you this.
I just want to make something before you ask me the question.
Go on.
If those clubs that have been linked is true, then Atalanta are selling Lookman. It's an open secret, right? Lookman's going to leave. Yeah. Where did Lookman play the season before they got him?
Leicester.
So where are they looking to buy their replacement from?
Leicester.
Similar, not dissimilar types of player, yeah? Mavididi, yeah.
Exactly.
So they're going to sell Lookman for 50, and they're going to look to replace him with Mavididi for 15. Now, why is Atalanta looking at Mavididi? Atalanta, do they have a recent good history of recruiting Atalanta? Can they find bargains out there where other people don't see bargains, where other people see problems? We should be thinking, why is Atlanta looking closely at Mavididi? Does that mean that we're missing a trick in our levels of appreciation? And look, I'm not me. I rate Mavididi, and oh my God, I can't believe it. I finally agree with Planet Earth about one thing in this world. I think Mavididi's been mismanaged. He needs that arm around him. Give him the love. Make him feel like he's a hero. Make him feel like he's a vital member of the team. He's one of the most skillful players in our team, if not the most skillful. Him and Fatal are about the only players who can really beat people for fun one-on-one. Maybe Bilal a little bit. But this is a guy that, stop doubting him. Get your arm around him. Show this guy some love. Let him find a home. The boy's got talent. He just needs time, and he needs love, and he needs belief. Enzo had that belief, and we got output. Last season, he was mismanaged. He got messed around by two managers.
Yeah.
First, Cooper dropped him for the first game, and Rude dropped him for lots of games. You've lost the player straight away. He never fancied either of those two managers. So if Rude stays, then there's a question mark. Then look, maybe him and Rude doesn't rate. If Rude's going to stay and Rude doesn't rate him, and Rude isn't going to play him, then we may as well cash in. But assuming there is a manager who sees his value, then there's one to keep.
Yeah.
The comment from Planet Earth, like you said, you agreed with. He said with the right manager, he'd be good in the Premier League. Probably has been mismanaged. Atalanta had Congerton as their sporting director. And Ragsy says people hyperfixate on his flaws more than the whole 90 just because it's frustrating when he tries and fails with chances. If he's in a stable squad like Palace, he'll make himself at home in the Prem. Yeah. Ryan said just needs to believe in himself more because he can finish when cutting inside. Yeah, that does happen quite a bit where he doesn't. I remember in the watch-alongs, Manny, like we've said, just have a pop. I
say the same thing during a watch-along, and I say the same thing every time I watch him. Stop cutting inside 10 times out of 10. Like, the defenders know that you're going to come inside and the midfielder's going to tuck in, so you'll end up creating a two-man wall in front of you, and you've got to find the side netting around them. Like, you've got to hit that perfect strike, which you can do at times, but a lot of the times it goes wide, it goes high, it gets blocked. Got to give that fullback something else to think about. Make a beeline for the byline. Step over, outside, and cross with your left foot. You stop trying to always cut inside and shoot. You've got to have a bit more variety. You become too predictable.
I think he's a good player overall. No, I agree, Manny. I think he was mismanaged last season. I think Enzo were fantastic with him. You could see he'd flourish, confidence player, Mavididi. On his day, fantastic. But if you look at what Cooper did to him and Van Nistelrooy, the whole confidence thing was short. You didn't see the same Mavididi. I think we see Mavididi do what he can do against Brighton, and he scored. So, yeah, you get the right manager in, I think he'd flourish next season again. And if you can get that player back on board with the ideas and that again, I think you can see him. But, yeah, he's got to have that different end product to him, hasn't he? It's not always you want to do a little step over, then go inside. You've got to have something different for the defender to think about. And this is what did frustrate me with Mavididi. You could see his A plan. You want to see what plan B is. And maybe in pre-season, you might physically see what he can do and offer differently.
It's amazing that we think about that of Mavididi, having had him for a couple of years. We're frustrated. We think he can do more, right? We do. We think there's more of a player than we've seen, and there's more output in him. But on paper, he's still been our highest scoring midfielder the last 2 seasons in a row. Seasons. That's what the numbers say. There's no one who scored more goals across all comps in midfield in any position. Not Fatawu, not Ayew, no one. So back-to-back in 2 different leagues under 3 different managers. He's still the guy, got minutes to goals, is performing. So I think it's, if we are going to sell Mavididi, and everybody does have a price, and you asked me, would I sell him for 15? I wouldn't. If somebody offered 25, then now we're talking a number. Now you're making it so irresistible that I can find a replacement, still bank some cash. Now you're starting to talk more of a number that I would consider. So, it's the old adage, everybody has a price. It just depends on what that number is. At 15, it's a no. At 25, it's a real conversation then.
Let me ask you this. So on the right hand side of your screen, there's the players, that finished the match against Bournemouth earlier in the season. The last game of the season. You've got some exciting ones there, like Jake Evans, for example, Jeremy Monga. But I just wanted to ask you, out of some of the players there, for example, Fass, Coady, Samare, how many of these players do you think do you think we're going to lose a lot of these this summer? Because Manny, it is going to be difficult to shift some of these. Like we talk about Coady to Rangers, we also spoke about the wages, right? It's going to be hard to shift him to Rangers. Same with Fass. We're going to have to try and get Lazio to put up some money for him somehow.
Some of them we'll be able to get rid of, but not as many as we would like. And You get, like I said this before, I think on Good Morning Fox on Sunday, and perhaps people misunderstand what I'm trying to say is, we never sub wages to get people out the door. But like say Man City now, they can't get rid of Jack Grealish because he's on 250 a week or whatever it is. They can't shift that. So they're going to let him go on loan, probably to Napoli, and they'll have to pay half of his wages, and Napoli will pay the rest. When Chelsea had Raheem Sterling and they want to get rid of him to Arsenal, they split the wages 50-50. When Marcus Rashford goes to Aston Villa and the Man United want those big wages off the books, you have to split it 50-50. So
that's a loan.
That's alone. So yeah, but I mean, I don't think anyone's going to be buying Yannick Vestergaard for even a zero transfer fee. The only way to shift him off your books is by getting him out on loan 2 or 3 seasons in a row and subsidising wages. Now, someone's going to say, "Oh, I think I've heard in the chat before people saying, oh, you can't take losses." It's not a loss because it's saving you money. Because right now you're committed to pay this guy that salary for X number of years. If you can say Yannick Vestergaard's on 60 a week and someone will take him for 30, right? And we'll pay 30. The way that I see it, this guy's not going to play for me. I don't want him to play. I've got a Coady, I've got Nelson, I've got other players ahead of him who are going to play. I'm saving myself 30 grand a week. That's £1.5 million a year. Across 2 years he's got left, that's £3 million I'm saving. Plus I've got him this guy out of the room because he's turning toxic with him. So I think we have to have that mentality. If we want to shift volume of players, it's a simple fact that these other clubs are not going to pay that salary. They can't afford to. Even if they wanted the player that much, they can't afford that salary. So we have to stomach it and say, we made a mistake paying these guys so much. And the only way we can never fully rectify it, but you can limit the damage by subbing wages and getting the players that you don't want off your books.
Finally, Jack, it is going to be difficult, and it's been an underwhelming start to the transfer window when we're talking about Sam Greenwood coming in and potentially Mavididi going out. That's very, very depressing.
Yeah, it is depressing. It is radio silence from the club because we don't know what's going on and who's talking to who and everything like that. We don't know if Top and Rookin are even talking to each other at this minute in time. So I don't know. It's the case, like Manny says, the wages is going to be the problem. It's all right paying these transfer fees for these players. The wages is what you've got to really look at with the contracts and the length of the contract. And this is what's going to put a lot of teams off our players with the wages because they're going to look at a Vestergaard and think, yeah, that guy's on 60 grand a week. We're not going to afford to pay that. But you look at the last team against Bournemouth, like you say, Jordan Ayew. He's not a winger. He's more better down the middle, which Crystal Palace fans did say that he is. He's a hold-up player. He's not blessed with pace, but he did score a couple of goals last season, even though he got slated quite a bit. He could do something in the Championship, Ayew. If he's not going to be a starter, he's more of a squad player to bring off the bench, which it should be anyway. Fass, Samare, got to get rid of them, haven't they? I mean, if we get €12 million for bloody Bouba Samari, which works out about 10 million quid. Snap your hand off, get him gone, get in someone fresh blood, like Manny says, these young up and coming players who want to show themselves in the Championship and wait the way to the Premier League. Go and do that. Go and think of something different as a plan going forward.
To be honest, there's like 3 players that I'm adamant that almost no matter what I want to keep. That's Jakub Stolarczyk, because I think Mads is definitely going to go, and he's a homegrown, and I think he could be our keeper for several years. I'd keep Ben Nelson, similar reason. I think he could be a Rolls-Royce of a centre-back. And I'm absolutely love Fatawu to bits, and the one benefit of him being injured is that nobody's likely to buy him. With every other player in the squad, whether I like them or not, and I like Bilal, I like Mavididi, I like Wilf, I like some others, everybody's up for sale. Every single one of them. And it all depends on how many you can shift. If you can shift 10, 15 players, then you do it. And you do it because it's going to be a high player turnover. And normally people would never dream of doing such a high turnover of players, completely changing the dynamic of the squad. But firstly, we need to do that, right? We need to clear out. We need new energy. We need new faces. We need new spirit. We need a new belief. These guys have had multiple chances at this now. It's not one relegation on a lot of their CVs. It's 2. That's just too much. And the wages, we've got so many legacy wages. We need to start again with a team that can start off where the biggest earner is on 40, 50 a week, not 120 a week. And we need to remember our new unit that we build has to be in a PSR world, whereas we're still suffering from building a unit that was in the European world pre-PSR. So yeah, lots of changes needed, lots of turnover needed. And don't forget Forest, a couple of years ago, they got up with a team of loanees and players that they borrowed. Then they signed about 23 players when they came up and built a brand new team on the fly and stayed up. So it can be done if, again, the key thing is recruitment. It's easy to know which players need to leave, but can we replace them with players of better standard on lower wages, on lower transfer fees? That's not an easy task to improve quality whilst reducing costs. And that's where the scouting team have to do their work like crazy and be good at it. If they're not, then we're in deep doo-doo.
Final comment of the day is from Michael, who says, guys, a Leeds supporter here. Greenwood has flattered to deceive at times for Leeds. A good dead ball specialist. He scored a direct free kick goal against Leicester for Middlesbrough last time round. Again, this is all that people seem to talk about, about Greenwood. Oh, free kicks.
Yeah.
If that's all people can talk about.
Is that it?
It's a worry. We
thought Birmingham was good at penalties until he missed it, Cardiff.
That's true. I was going to say at least, well, we do need a set-piece specialist, but I would rather it be packaged in with a lot of other positive attributes as well. Right, we're going to end it there. We are going to be back live at 7 p.m. tonight for Fox's Den. Hot takes, which is going to be fun, like we did a couple of months ago, where I've asked Leicester fans online to give us their hot takes. There are some crazy ones, and there's one of them was actually said on Jack's channel last night, not by Jack, by somebody else. So we're going to talk about that as well. But yeah,
I know it's what you're referring to.
Yeah, man. 7 p.m. tonight. We will see you there. Cheers all. We'll be live if there's any more. Bye.